Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming along today. It's brilliant to see so many people looking to invest in their careers or in the success of their companies. So we'll intro ourselves shortly, but one of the things that we wanted to do with this session is answer as many of your questions as possible. So we're actually going to have kind of a conversation as we go along, but please ask your questions on Canopy, or if you're in the room, ask us. We have lovely people in orange shirts who will come and chuck a microphone at you. So we will try and spend as much time answering questions as possible. So to introduce ourselves, we thought we would start with our stories, because Lubna and I are both managers. You can tell we're wearing blazers, so we're looking suitably the part. And when I do my tech presentation tomorrow, I'll put a hoodie on to look the part tomorrow as well. So let's talk about just Lubna and myself and why you should be listening to us. So Lubna, talk about you.
Cool. Thank you, Steph, and thank you all for joining us today. As we are talking about brilliant managers, I would like to share my very first experience of a manager, and that will give you some idea of my journey. When I was 19, I was doing a degree in accounts and business, and I developed interest in IT thanks to gaming, and started doing a diploma in computer software engineering as well. As soon as I finished my diploma, my family circumstances changed and I had to find a job and managed to secure a role as a IT technician, IT assistant, I would say. My very first manager on the first day said to me that he thinks I would be better as an IT trainer. At 19, that was a big thing for me. I thought, I don't even know how to walk, how I'm going to run. And he coached me, he encouraged me and put so much trust in me. And before I get overwhelmed and walk out of the building that, no, I can't do that role, he encouraged me and came along and supported me. And it was for a business unit where they scaled mature students and people who wanted to build their career in IT. That resonated with me, and I think if he hadn't challenged me, I wouldn't have been where I am now. Since then, at that point, to be honest, I realized that if no one is there in my life to challenge me, I need to challenge myself. And every couple of years, I found a role that excited me. And when I got to the point that I've learned enough, I've moved on. So I've worked in IT industry as a software engineer, as an architect. I had my own startup fairly early in my career, and now, after working as an architect at Microsoft, I have took on the role of a people manager, and here I am. Over to you, Steph. Will be good to know about your journey and what characteristics you think a good manager should have.
So, unlike Lubna, I'm eminently underqualified to be in IT. I've got a philosophy degree. This means I'm excellent at consulting because it teaches me how to argue and sound like I know what I'm on about. But I am community taught around tech. So I started off working in a company using Excel, taking journalists for karaoke, and slowly but surely got the bug for more and more data to be able to do more and more great things to help my business. That led me to my first user group, and actually one of the first sessions I ever attended was a SQL Bits training day, and the rest made me a junkie for the community. So I've done all sorts of things, including presenting, organizing conferences. And as that's kind of gone along with my tech career, I realized the people in the room are the biggest asset and the biggest challenge that one can have. And they're the people who add value, and there's no point having technology if we don't help people. So in my career in the tech community, in both of those, I've started focusing more and more on the people challenges, because people are irrational, non-deterministic functions that are the hardest things to try and understand and solve. So I did all the Permi stuff, I've done some consulting, like Lubna, ran my own startup, which got me the mad CEO PowerPoint skills, and now I work for Microsoft to help shore up my leadership skills. Because I did the usual techie, into the fire of management, no prior training, hoped I'd be good at it, learned what I can on the internet, and just like try to fake it till I make it. One of the good things about Microsoft is the support that they give for managers. So that was a big part of why I joined Microsoft, was to be a better leader. And you asked me the question, Lubna, what makes a brilliant people manager? And we asked a few people around the room, right, throughout the day, what makes a brilliant people manager? A lot of folks kind of laughed and said, those exist. And my thinking on this is a brilliant people manager helps you succeed in your current role and helps you for your next role. A people manager lifts people up and helps solve some of the biggest problems, which are people problems. So that's kind of my opinion. So Lubna, you know, we're both managers now. We spend a lot of our time with managers. What are the things that you've noticed about people who are more effective at being a manager? What do they do?
I'll tell you about my experience again. I think the main attributes are around respect and care and coaching. As I touched up in my very first example, being honest and being open with your team, challenging them, encouraging them to do things that they probably also think that they can't achieve. But with your coaching, they will be probably able to achieve more. As you know, I'm assuming most of the people in this room know that HR is the biggest strength of any business. If you haven't got good people, we have got ChatGPT, we have got GPT-4, but if we don't have our people, I don't think we'll be as Microsoft where we are now. So supporting, modeling the right behaviors, coaching the team, and showing care and empathy is one of the best things that we can do as a manager.
Excellent. And so managers definitely need to have a lot of trust in people and a lot of faith in that people can be better today than they were yesterday. And it kind of leads to what we think a brilliant manager should focus in on. So in the day job, it becomes really easy that your day can feel like it boils down to meetings and emails. That certainly felt the way for me. And it feels like you're maybe not doing work, right? Like when your day is talking to people and you're a techie, you think, but I didn't code anything. I didn't build something. So what did I achieve? So what we try and focus in on to be an effective manager is making your team more effective. So fostering the right culture, helping make sure that their performance is improving day to day by coaching and supporting them. And really helping align what people love to do and the things that they have goals and motivations for, and aligning those to the business goal so that the business gets the best out of it and everybody comes out of their day just a little bit better.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Anything else?
It is really challenging being technical person becoming a manager, because you want to just go there and do the firefighting with them, but enabling your team is one of the best thing you can do. And as a manager, you can have impact, probably not a direct impact, but indirect impact through your team. So always I think you have to become less selfish and selfless and see how you can help your team achieve more with the capacity they have.
And I guess if people are Googling that, that's basically the definition of servant leadership, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking for things to learn, servant leadership is a great concept. And from a skills perspective, so we can't just go into management and assume that we have all the skills we need just because we're great coders or great visualizers. So what do you think skills that people can practice and kind of grow that are important to be a manager?
From my experience, I always had an approach of learn it all, according to Microsoft ethos. Don't act as you know it all and try and learn it all. So when I decided to transition into management, I had certain hesitation that I might not be able to speak to leadership team in as effective way as how I speak to developers. So I recently finished my master's in management to feel comfortable that, yes, I've got the kit bag to go and do the job well. But then when I've reflected recently, most of the skills I gained was by mentoring my junior colleagues, by mentoring earlier career. We recruit a lot of university graduates and apprentices, so helping them with their technical challenges, helping them building soft skills, and enabling them to do more. It helped me gain certain skills that I needed to demonstrate as a manager.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, especially with, we'll talk about how Microsoft scales management later, but the coaching is absolutely central to the skill for being a great manager. And that was one of the things that I found one of the things I've learned most through Microsoft support that I think has improved my leadership, also improved my relationship because I solutionize less, is that I spend more time listening and asking questions that help somebody come to the right answer rather than just jumping to that finish line of going, I know what you should do, here's what you should do, go do it. That coaching skill, I think, is really underrated, but it's something that, no matter your role, is very effective to help you help your colleagues help themselves.
Yeah. And if you're giving too much step-by-step guidance to your team, then you don't know what creativity they can come up by yourself. You are limiting their impact based on your own knowledge. And if you can push them beyond what you know, then that's the best result you can get out of it.
Because you don't need 10 clones of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You want 10 brilliant team members who bring their own perspective. And that's actually a good question, a good point, right? Because a lot of the time when we transition from an individual contributor to a manager, it's unfortunately all too common. It's because you're really good at your current job. You are a great techie. You can go talk to somebody inside the business, you can work out what the problem is, and you can be really productive at getting a solution to solve that problem. And then you're chucked into management, and it becomes really easy to fall back on that knowledge of how to do those things and just do those instead of managing and helping others. And that's one of the challenges that new managers often face. And it's one of the biggest things that if you do the transition, you're going to have to do is go, I'm going to let my team do this, not me. So your tech skills are useful for coaching, but your tech skills aren't the most useful skills that you should have as a manager. So we were discussing this. What do you think skills-wise are useful, aside of coaching?
Outside of coaching, it's helping your team come up with a development plan, being able to find the right level of, a good team that could work on the level of knowledge you need within your organization. And I think it's not just about managers, it's about senior individual contributors as well. To be able to do interviews and identify where the potential is, and also identifying how you can get the best out of that person. So I think a lot of soft skills, but I think just pushing yourself, pushing yourself out of comfort zone and helping others to do more than what they think are capable of would be what managers should be doing.
Yeah. I think there's also some kind of business skills that are valuable, right? Because if you don't understand the business's goals, how those businesses' goals are translating into strategies, it makes it very difficult for you to align the right tactics for your team and to help your team understand what the goal is that they're pointing towards. And if you don't give people a goal, as James, who was just presenting before us, you should totally watch his session. It was fab. Yeah. As James said, if people don't have a goal, if they're doing the same thing and it's not something that they love, they're going to get burnt out. So you as the manager, having business acumen that you can grow over time helps you translate that out of corp speak into language that your team understands and resonates with them individually. Because somebody who's very process-oriented isn't going to want the same alignment to the goal as somebody who's kind of more completionist or success or kind of achievement-oriented.
Absolutely. Every organization has different types of managers. So within Microsoft, our role is slightly different, where we have to think strategically and also have to think about our people. And how, what Steph mentioned there, we have to take the direction that comes from senior leadership, translate that, and apply to each individual to see how they can bring the best impact within the organization. So it's really important to know each person, but then also knowing that the direction that's coming from the senior leadership of our corp from US, what would be the right strategy for your team and individual to have the best impact, because we all are unique and we can't expect everyone to do the same role. So each individual has got their own aspirations. They want to become an expert in specific technology. Some wants to have technical breadth. Some want to have technical depth. So it's a juggling game, but if you do it right, then it gives you a high level of satisfaction.
Kind of have to become an expert in your people. Yeah. Profile them well. So we're now on to the big question that actually I think Lubna is best placed to answer is, how do you make that jump from individual contributor to a manager? And this is brilliant because Russell from Edith Cowan University very nicely kind of asked a question that's basically on our slides of, as a mid-career tech worker, how can I convince my employers that they should give me a chance to try a leadership role? So Lubna is, you interviewed after wanting to take that jump. So what do you think?
So to be honest, a perfect question, and it's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I never wanted to come into management. As a techie, there was that, okay, if I become a manager, what will be my impact? I want to stay technical. So initially, I had a lot of hesitation, but then I felt, as Jay mentioned, that I've reached the, ceiling to my career. I'm senior cloud solution architect. Where can I go next in my career? And that was the point, okay, let's challenge myself. Let's try and learn more management and leadership skill so I can use my technical knowledge and my previous experience and influence the management and the business to do the things that I think are beneficial for our customer. I started with doing a master's, and that gave me leverage to my management team that, look, I've spent 2 years while I've been working, I've gained the skill that you're interested in, give me a chance. But just talking that and talking to your manager is not enough. You have to reflect those skills that you've learned or you want to demonstrate to your manager and to the rest of the team that's around you. Because if I just go and say to my manager, I'm great, give me a chance, if he hasn't seen me doing things that a manager does, I will go nowhere. So I took on a role of mentoring a lot of people. I started using various business tools to address the challenge and come up with solutions. There are various techniques we use within the management world to dissect the problem. There are various frameworks, and I would, on my one-to-one with my manager, this is the problem, and I think this is how we can resolve it. And that gave him confidence that I know what I'm talking about, and I became his sounding board. So whenever there was new direction coming from the co-op, I was on the other side, helping him understand whether it would work on the ground within UK. And gradually, I went for interviews, and I think based on my experience, know-how of the business, I got the chance as a manager. Again, I had hesitation whether I wanted to become a manager, but then I thought, let's try it for a year. If it doesn't work, I'll become an architect again. It's going well so far, and I'm balancing so I can keep some time to stay technical, but also focusing on the people and the strategic side of things.
Lubna doesn't brag very well, which is something I'm working on, because I managed Lubna for about 6 months before she decided to really try and get away from me by becoming a manager. And you did a lot of things. You really exemplified some of Microsoft's kind of concept of the trusted advisor that the architect role brings. So trusted advisors are people you can go get, you can get that information from, you can help have the credibility to help you set the direction of your technical strategy and your business strategy, and you'll happily take their advice. So the cloud solution architect role in Microsoft is quite a interesting business plus tech role, and you applied those skills really well internally to become a trusted advisor to management. And that was a great example of influencing without authority, another term that you can Google along with servant leadership for how to do things. And I think that's something that, that Russell and some of the other folks who are thinking about this, and we're answering some of our next question of doing that transition, is take the opportunity to coach people, to mentor, to get involved in translating business imperatives into team tactics, and be involved and build up that experience, because then when there's a management position that comes up, it's, well, Russell knows his stuff. He's been helping us on this. It's an absolute no-brainer that we can give him 5, 10 people, and he's going to go do a good job because he's already helped 3, 5, 10 people, and so we've got faith.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's definitely a kind of a skills thing. You can prep. So you can do, we've got some links at the end of this, so you can do some insightful listening training, some coaching skills. You can go do some business finance and understanding data and balance sheets and things always is helpful to anybody. But you can go do a lot of practical things to evidence your knowledge, but that day in, day out active participation and engaging with management is probably the most surefire way to prove that you know that you have the right skills.
Absolutely. Shall I?
Yep. And we put this in because a lot of places might go, oh, you need an MBA to be a people manager, or you must have a humanities degree, or you must have a comp sci PhD, or whatever kind of requirements. in our leadership team, we've got somebody who was in telecoms as a software architect. We've got somebody who came in from process engineering and got hooked on SAP and Dynamics and went from there. I've come in kind of sideways from the data world. You've come in from engineering and contracting. And we've got somebody who came in from an apprenticeship in different roles and worked their way up through the support system. So we have lots of different backgrounds. I don't think any of us have the same degree. Not all of us have degrees. Yeah. And that kind of diversity of experience adds really brilliantly to how we work as a team to bring those discussions. And that's a great, Denise, our manager, is a good example of a brilliant manager. She brought that diversity of experience together. And as a result, we're a stronger team. We come up with more innovative solutions. So that's something to remember when you're thinking about taking this step of becoming a manager. You don't need to go get an MBA. It's useful if you want to kind of build the theoretical foundation, but don't let a lack of qualifications stop you from taking this step if it's something you want to take.
It's same as programming, right? If you've got interest and just want to go for it, start demonstrating those behaviors, start showing those behaviors. I think that's something. Now I've got my own team, and there are a few people who want to move into management. I wish they would show certain attributes that I can say, yes, you can. I can see you in the manager role. So it's again demonstrating. Having knowledge is one thing, but demonstrating that well to your peers, to your colleagues, that you can be placed in that role, I think that would take you further.
So we're saying, you don't need any specific things, but you still probably want to prep, right? Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you're thinking about becoming a manager, what kind of things should you be planning to do to help you take that step? So, Lubna, recap what you did in your...
I started asking my manager, I want to coach people. I want people who I can mentor. I want to interview when you're hiring. So being part of the interview panel, I could show my skill that I know how to pick the right person to join the organization, what level of skills we need to. And that was good learning experience for me as well, to see what because we used to have a sync after various interviews from everyone what they thought about the candidate, because at Microsoft we decide to do 3 or 5 interviews for each individual. So we get a lot of insights to decide and various perspective about the same person to make the decision to bring them in to our team. So get involved in those sort of activities. Just by doing that, you will start to understand what people management looks like. And if you have your own development plan, think about it effectively and put some learning in there, that there are various coaching techniques you can learn. We'll share about how we do it at Microsoft, and some resources. Those are available publicly that you can go on Microsoft Learn and get those skills.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, so
we're definitely not tooting our own specific horns here that Microsoft making brilliant managers. Infer what you will about our skills in respect to management. But Microsoft, as a company with around 200,000 employees, if you think 10 individual contributors to a manager, that's like 20,000 managers roughly who, if they're not good at managing people, then all the good people at Microsoft would leave. It's every company. Your managers are crucially important, because people leave bad managers. They don't leave bad companies, right? So if your managers suck, eventually your talent group inside your company is going to suck. So Microsoft, quite rightly, has spent a lot of time and effort trying to work out how to make brilliant managers. And one of the first key things is recognizing that management is important. And also that it is very different to being an individual contributor. As a manager, your impact isn't what you personally deliver, it is what you support your team in delivering. There's very limited room for ego to be a successful manager at Microsoft. So they do a lot around, first of all, teaching people what it takes to be a good manager. Whether you've come in from Microsoft or from externally, we all go through the same training on how to be an effective manager, situational leadership, coaching skills, and a number of other topics. So there's a training and onboarding plan for every single manager to tell them, this is the bar that we expect, and we're going to help you hit it. And that's also just a really great thing for any manager to say to their team, right? And I don't know if you've had this, that clarity of this is what good looks like for you in your role. And are you hitting it? Are you excelling it? And if you're under that bar, we're going to help you jump it. That kind of constructive attitude to we're going to help you succeed, I think is in my career has been surprisingly rare. And I don't know if you've had that clarity of feedback and kind of understanding about what good looks like, but that's something that I think it attracted me to Microsoft to come, to know that there would be a bar and I had the challenge of jumping it, of being more effective. Yeah. So that onboarding is really helpful.
And when we say about onboarding, it takes like 6 months to do the onboarding. And they basically teach us how to coach, how to create an inclusive culture, as Microsoft is one of the diverse places you can work in, and I haven't seen as many women in any organization before. Being in tech, I used to be the only woman in most of the teams. So it's really great to see different people with different perspective. And as a manager, we get the training, so we act as inclusive as we can. We challenge our mindset and help us grow in a better person, and also enable us. There is a model, there is a framework that Microsoft use, and I think we'll talk about growth mindset as well. Yes, that's the one. First of all, let's talk about growth mindset, because everyone at Microsoft, from Satya to the person at any level, gets the training on growth mindset. Do you want to touch upon that before I get into Model Coach Care?
Sure. So actually, James earlier really well exemplified, I thought, a growth mindset of always looking to improve his skills. And kind of, for me, it's the being better today than I was yesterday. That focus on, I don't know it yet. And that yet word is really powerful. It's the, you think, I'm not good at it when you try a new thing. Like you're probably not going to be the best at management when you first start. Because you haven't done it enough yet to put things into practice. So there's that yet aspect of that belief that you're going to be better tomorrow than you are today. And there's also the resiliency of, I'm going to try something, it may not work, but that's okay. Or, we're going through a tough time at Microsoft. A lot of companies are around layoffs. Like, it's a really, really crappy situation for a lot of people. And it's, it's hard on a day-to-day experience for people to be working in an environment of uncertainty. And in that growth mindset, people who are more resilient and exhibiting that growth mindset are thinking, what can I control? How can I be more productive and impactful at my role? And that's what we kind of try to model. Yeah. We try to live that day to day, and that's what we try to coach our teams to be, is to learn it all, not know it all, and really build their resiliency. Yeah. So I kind of covered some of the model. Yeah. What else around model coach care?
So yeah, you've covered it really well. And just to add to that, where you're in an organization where you're working with so many great people, it helped Microsoft recently, especially in the last 5 years, to stay away from a toxic culture. Instead of saying, oh, I know this, leave it with me, it was, have you actually invested your time in it and learn about something that you're interested in, and then go and explore that area. So Model Coach Care was basically born from this growth mindset idea. And modeling is, as a manager, we model the right behaviors, and then we coach our team to model the same behaviors as well, and how you can enable them to do that, but then doing that with care. Looking after people that we have is one of the most important things. So challenging someone to do something, but not coaching them to achieve that well and not showing the care, you probably won't see the same result.
Yeah, model coach care it's such a great way to summarize a really productive framework for people who are looking to be managers. And when you're doing all three well, when you're caring about your people, helping them achieve what they best can, and living that growth mindset, and building, really pushing for diversity and building a more inclusive space, that makes the difference.
Absolutely. And at Microsoft, I was talking to Steph a couple of days ago, we challenge our customers or challenge the world to adapt to new technology. So we are pushing change on everyone, and it's disruptive time, but we need to make sure we bring the change, land the change nicely within our team as well. So Model Coach and Care help us do that. If you just Google, you'll find so many articles about this, and also there is a learning course where you can go through and become more comfortable with the whole model and apply it in your day job.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about Microsoft, and you might be thinking, well, a 200,000 people company can afford to do a ton of management onboarding and have dedicated trainers to help managers. What about my little 50-person shop and things? So if you're able to influence the management program inside your organization, which could be the whole organization, or it could be inside your tech department, to influence it, first of all, you should influence and advocate for a management program to exist. So to have a strand of the talent management and improvement of the company, that you actually work on improving your managers. First and foremost, you have to admit you have a problem before you can fix the problem. So that's the first step. And then, irrespective of your budget, you should be thinking about what training can I put in place to help my managers. That could be LinkedIn learning courses. I wouldn't fully recommend this as the only way of doing it, but here's a laundry list of Harvard Business Review articles to read. But have something that is a shared set of recommended learning that your managers go through. So you have a consistent language and a consistent set of expectations as to what good looks like. And is there anything else that you think managers folks should do?
The only thing I would like to add to that is, as we've got 5 minutes left, as a manager, especially the climate we are in, we have to make some difficult decisions. And it shouldn't be left on one manager. So if you have got few managers within the organization work together, validate what you're going to do, and create a space so others can challenge you, so you feel comfortable with the decisions you're about to make, that it's not just your decision, it's a collective decision. That has been one of the biggest strengths for me, because if I've come up with an idea, I've gone back to other managers and I've said, this is what I'm trying to do, what do you think? And by discussing that, sometimes I learn from that and don't apply, but sometimes my ideas get applied on other 5 teams as well. So it's just, it's give and take, we are all learning, but create that safe space where you can share and learn from each other and collectively make difficult decisions, because I don't think it's fair on a manager to be making those decisions, and sometimes it can be difficult on personal level.
Love it. Make a community of practice like we have here, but for managers. And then our last major thing that we wanted to cover before we hand over for more questions. So this is our last question that we're asking each other. So do think and add to Canopy or get ready. What kind of content and stuff should you add to support managers day to day? Because we talked about the onboarding experience of setting that consistent bar for what good looks like and building a shared set of vocabulary and skills and practices that they adopt. That is part of the content and support for managers, so that not only do you build a brilliant manager, but then you maintain the brilliant manager. You also need to make sure that they have access to policies and things that impact, how they manage their employees. You also want to be able to provide just-in-time support for the key activities that a manager does day to day, like coaching their team. We should be coaching our team on things like on their career. If we don't understand their career goals, we can't align their goals with the company's. So you should be thinking about whether you're an individual manager influencing the broader program or designing the program, what assets can I reuse to help scale a consistent and better quality experience for managers across my organization? Basically, apply a whole bunch of our coding techniques of don't repeat yourself, and keep it simple, stupid, and modularize as much as you can so people can pick the modules that they need to get the job done. So we can use a lot of our kind of software principles to build a great kind of technical support layer for managers.
Cool. I think that's it from us today. Thank you for listening. Any questions or any further clarity you would like us to add, please shout.
In the front.
James, as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're not going to throw the microphone at you because you were the first person to ask a question in the room. So bravery has its own rewards.
Okay. What do you do if your manager is not supportive with training? Mm-hmm. My manager at work, I suggested, I told her that I'd like to, maybe some leadership training. So I'd like lead a software project or technical architecture sort of. Because my current role, I'm software engineer at Cardiff City Council. I'd say, just my manager just says sometimes he comes out with some quite hurtful things, but it can be quite critical and harsh sometimes. Yeah. It can be quite critical.
that can be
quite critical.
So a question has been asked: how do you manage a difficult manager?
I did, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
how do you, if you want to become a leader, how do you deal with those sort of people in your organization? Empathize with you. It's not an easy thing to do. I can, again, talk from my experience.
Yeah. Great.
I would just go and, you know, take certain steps to show my leadership skill in that situation. We usually say at Microsoft, go and do certain things that you think are right and ask for forgiveness later. So if I've got a good idea, I'll start that as a side project and I'll show those leadership skills through my other projects. So, for example, I support an external user group and I get to present there and I get to lead various people within that. So I've created my own bubble where, before I became manager, to demonstrate things and do things that I wanted to. So not every organization has got that growth mindset. So if you feel like you have got potential, don't just focus in your showing those expertise within the job. Find other ways to demonstrate those skills.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully that helped. Any more questions?
James has got.
James. Yeah, and just another plug. If you didn't have a chance to watch it back online when it comes out. James's session on slaying your career dragons was brilliant and really insightful for, especially if you want to stay as an individual contributor.
Thank you. One question I have for you guys is, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing that would, kind of change based off what you've learned, what would that be?
Mine would be brag more. So I tried to get this. I tried to tell my team this. I had really crippling advice in one of my first roles when I came in. I did an amazing job in my first few weeks, knocked it out of the park. I sent a message saying, I did blah, 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 blah. And my manager said, no, don't use I, use we. We are a team. We succeeded together. I'm like, actually, no, I did all the work, so it was an I. But being autistic, I took it very, very to heart. And for a very long time, ended up kind of masking my own achievements and underselling my own impact whilst trying to bolster the team. That meant that I probably could have had more impact by helping people recognize where I was adding value, and then helping them leverage that impact so that they had more success. If I'd hid less and helped more by sharing what I was doing, I think I could have done a much better job all the way along my career. So, anything you could go back and remedy?
I would say for myself would be, don't beat yourself up. I think from my background, being Asian, being woman, being from, from a community where the only encouragement was to go into medicine, that was quite difficult. And the other thing was I had to work twice as hard to prove that I know stuff. Being in a group of people where maybe I wasn't, but I really don't know, just thinking back as well, whether I would have been where I am if I hadn't worked twice as hard, because that's the world we live in. Sometimes you have to, that's why I had to go and do masters recently, that I thought the knowledge I have might not be good enough. I do so many other things outside work, again, to push myself, maybe I'm not good enough. And how James touched up on imposter syndrome, maybe I lived with that for too long. So I've always challenged myself, but again, I would say maybe if I hadn't, I would have been where I am now if I had done things with work-life balance and looked after myself more.
Yeah. Okay, so we're out of time. I've put the feedback link on screen. thank you so much for everybody who attended, both online and in person. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we've inspired you to advocate for better management practices inside your organization. Maybe convince some of you who are on the fence to actually take the plunge and become a manager. And if not, hopefully you manage to stay awake and not die, which is my usual bar for my presentations. So thank you all so much for coming today, and have fun at the party if you're hanging around.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.